joined this morning by Denne from Hastings Kickboxing Academy. Carl, you did something which you must almost seem unique on Sunday. You had a group training session. How did that go? And how did you do it safely?
It went really, really well, thank you. It was this Sunday just gone. The guidelines obviously say you're allowed 5 people plus 1 coach within groups. We've watched a few people do 6 classes, and we thought we would test run it and kind of times that by 3. So we had 3 groups of 6. They were all socially distanced. They were all 2 meters apart, as the guidelines state. But what we actually made is a 5-meter group or gap between each group. So we had a group of 6, probably 6-7 meters gap, another group, and then another gap, another group. And we created like a really big triangle in a huge field.
Excellent. And I mean, where you say you've been watching other people do that, I mean, the demand for your from your members, it was obviously there. They obviously wanted something like this, and for you to provide that.
Yeah, well, originally I wasn't going to do it. So I'm not a lover of training in parks and fields. You know, as you can see behind me, you know, we've got a reasonably good gym. You know, I like my gym. You know, it's my home. It's my 4 walls. That's where I feel comfortable. So I don't really feel overly comfortable training in the field. So I've never really wanted to do that. Obviously, we're not allowed to train inside at the moment. The gym's been closed for 12 weeks and it still is closed at the moment. And everyone, every week has been saying to me, we need to train outside, we need to train outside. So I've kind of resisted it for quite a while. And there's a new system that I'm trying called Book Me. So when we start to open back up, it's going to be nearly impossible to try and ring 180 members and say, right, can you do Monday at 6? Can you do Monday at 6:30? So I wanted to test this new bit of software and to check it works, check it didn't have any gremlins, check everyone could book on it and they could work out how to click the links and stuff. So I created a 9 a.m. Sunday morning class, and I limited it to 16 people. 16 people, 18 people, I can't remember, something like that, just to see if it would work. So I put it out there, and within an hour it got fully booked up, and everyone was like, is it happening? Is it happening? Are we going to train together? Are we going to work as a team? I'm like, I'm really sorry. It was just a test. And so many people were like, you're kidding. Oh man, I was so excited. And they were proper depressed.
Yeah.
In respects to going, and then some of them started saying, we're going to do it anyway. If you're not there, we're still going to train. So I had a chat with Jenny, my other instructor, and said, what do you think? And we were on the fence for a day or two going, no, we shouldn't. And then I was like, that's solid, let's do it. Let's take a chance, let's take a risk. We're allowed 6 in a group. They're the guidelines. You know, you're not allowed mass gatherings, but I mean, I saw like 10,000 people in a park the other day, so define a mass gathering.
Yeah.
So I thought, if we have 6 in a group, 2 meters apart minimum, if we don't share any kit whatsoever, so no one shares skipping ropes or ladders, no one does any pads or any sparring whatsoever, which I've seen so many people do, and I applaud them, by the way, but again, just to keep it safe. And then within that six in the group, we then obviously created 2 more groups to accommodate for the numbers. And then we put a 5-meter gap between each group. And then we also kept, it was actually about a 5-meter distance between them and me and the coaches in the middle as well. So it's like a big, it almost looked like a nuclear sign on the field.
And you'd have to shout quite loudly.
Yeah. Well, luckily I've got used to shouting to many people. So yeah. And it works. Like, again, I turned around and said we wasn't going to do it. Everyone wanted to do it, and they were going to do it anyway. And we had a mixture of adults and teenagers there, and all of them wanted to be there. It wasn't like you have to come. It was like, well, we're not even going to do it. And they're like, well, we're going to do it anyway. We want to train. So it was their choice. It was their decision. Yeah. So, you know, I said to them, look, make sure you wash your hands, make sure you bring alcohol gel, make sure you arrive at slightly different times. So we all set them, right, group 1, you can turn up at 10 to 9, group 2 you can turn up at 5 to 9, and group 3 you can turn up at 9 o'clock.
Just some basic safety procedures, basically.
Yeah, really simple. And again, rightly or wrongly, you can go out, you can go to Canberra Sands when it's hot and you'll see 30,000 people there. You can go to town yesterday and you'll see 300 people queuing out Sports Direct, not socially distancing. you'll go into there, Tesco's, you're not washing your hands anymore. People are pushing you out of the way to get to their strawberries and potatoes. That's a much more, I would say dangerous, but an unsafe place to be. In the gym, we can make sure everyone's washed their hands, everyone is fit and healthy. We can maintain socially distance. Well, the space, you can't see in the picture because it's an old picture of the gym, but we've now put 9-meter squares in the gym. So when we do open back up, we've actually gone out to 9-meter squares. They're actually going to be 3 meters apart at a minimum.
And for what you're saying about what you did on Sunday, again, because it's an exercise class, because it's a fairly disciplined exercise class, people are going to be doing what you tell them. So, all of those issues about getting too close, just aren't going to be ones that you need to worry about. Are you going to do it again?
Well, afterwards, obviously, we've got a group chat and everyone's like, all right, see you next week. First of all, I want to be back in the gym, not in the field. Second of all, the members that didn't see it, obviously we created a video and we made quite a nice little production with it with a drone and stuff, which was pretty cool. Obviously we wanted to push the boundaries a little bit and to see where everyone sat as well, to see if everyone was like, yeah, brilliant, we want to be back. Or if people are going, oh, what are you doing? We wanted to test the water, really. The problem I've got now is, we had 180 members before the lockdown. We had 20 or 30 members that didn't see the video, as in the first video about doing the session. So they've now seen the video, they all want to come. People that wanted to come, but it was fully booked, that couldn't come, now want to come. And the people that aren't part of HKA, that still want to train, now want to come. So if I was to do it next weekend, I don't know, 60, 70, 80, 100 people will turn up. And for me, that's going to be too difficult to try and teach, to maintain social distancing, to maintain kind of a bit of structure and order, because again, if we were to keep it to groups of 6 and 2 meters apart, all of a sudden, if we have 60, which we would have easily, that's 10 groups. So to then space out 10 groups wouldn't be impossible, but it would be a logistical nightmare.
And from what you did on Sunday, as you've said earlier this morning, what you did on Sunday, you're able to turn around and sort of put your hands up that we did it properly. Whereas if the groups get too big and doing it, you're not, that's going to become an issue. And
that will then take us into, the people that are protesting, and I understand why they're protesting, but they're not socially distancing, and people will say, oh, they're not 2 meters apart. I mean, the government are looking at changing it down to 1 meter soon anyway. The virus hasn't just evaporated and disappeared. It's still about. It's just they're changing the guidelines to suit what they want so they can open up.
Open up the economy. I was talking to Sally Ann Hart, the local MP, yesterday, and she was very much saying, we're at a stage where we need to open up the economy and we need to get businesses running.
Part of my life, part of my economy is my gym, is my business. It's my full-time income. And people have said, what we do is pleasure and it's not a business, but it is a business. I do what I do because I love it and I'll do it till I die. But, we got rent to pay, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got 2 daughters to pay, to feed, and again, I know my vocabulary is not the best, but this is my business, this is my job, this is my livelihood. I've worked really hard to get to where I am. And if I just shut the doors and say, oh, we'll be back in 3 months' time, there'll be no gym to come back to. Our members won't have a HKA.
Because that's one thing that's been quite obvious throughout the whole period of this lockdown, and perhaps we can touch in a second just on when it kicked in. But throughout the last 3 months, your profile on social media, your interaction with your members, be they current or past members, you've actually kept yourself very much in vision. You're there, you're still talking to the membership, you're still doing things, you're doing Zoom exercise, and you've actually timetabled, and you're sticking to the timetable of the Zoom classes, so they can still have their appointed time, their appointed session with you, and the consistency of that's probably been quite important.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing we've noticed with all our members is keeping a routine. And that, forget our members, it's the world. Like, we all need a routine. We all need to get up. We all need to get dressed, go to work, go to school, go to college, routine is so important. So one thing we noticed very early is that everyone that was with us needed to keep a routine. So the first thing that we done is we set up a timetable and a structure on Zoom that basically gave people 4 sessions, 4 days of training a week. Yep. And we've kept it religiously all the way throughout. It hasn't been easy at times. It has been difficult. Mm. As much as I hate, I'd much rather be sitting with you at a desk, having a cup of coffee. Yep. We have to use what we've got. We have to do our best at the present time. I didn't want to set up a webcam and a camera in the gym and talk to someone, yeah, good jab cross, keep your guard up. But it's what we've got. It's what, that's what we've had to do. So that's what we've done. Me and Jenny have probably spent 2 hours a day ringing members, ringing old members, ringing people that want to join, making sure they're fit and healthy. We've been checking in with people to, if they've got any issues that they can ask us. We probably spend over an hour a day just talking to members just about, I've done a post this morning about snowflakes and there's been one negative comment about it. And I don't mean it in a derogative or a negative way, but with the amount of social media pressure and the news, it's constant negative. So everyone is kind of getting drawn into this pool of negative rubbish. Yep. And like when you sit and talk to people and have a normal conversation with them, they actually realise that it's not actually as bad as what they're hearing and seeing through this bloody thing here.
Yeah. So if we go right back, the closure of gyms, the closure of the economies kind of happened pretty much overnight without a lot of warning. What was your kind of first reaction when you were told your gym was closed until further notice? As you say, your livelihood, your income stream is all based in that place. That must have been quite scary in those initial 2 or 3 days.
Honestly, I was like, because we were open, and like you said, overnight, it was like, right, you need to shut. And I come home, had a discussion with the wife, had a discussion with Jenny and, my head coach and a few of my coaches and staff members. I had a bit of a meltdown, had a bit of a wobble because it was quite serious. Yeah. If I have to close it for a week or 2 because of a refurb, that's my decision, my choice, and you prep for it. But when someone else tells you have to do something, it's quite scary. Something as serious as this. So we had 180 members on the books, plus all the schools that we teach. We work with 8 schools across East Sussex. We work with the local police. We work with a lot of children on pathways, and we work with special educational needs children. And overnight, literally, the doors closed. So I had a wobble, I had a meltdown, had a little cry, and I just had to sort of slap myself around the face and go, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? What can you do to continue or do the best you can with what you've got? So I kind of looked around. I cut a bit of a long story short. We decided to go on. Again, we could have made the choice to go outside, but that wasn't really an option. So we decided to set up a Zoom. So we've set up a screen and a webcam. We had to buy some kit. We tried different packages and software packages and bits and pieces. And it probably took us a couple of weeks to get used to it. Jenny hated the thought of being in front of a camera. She's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, you have to. We have to. Yep. We've got to stand shoulder to shoulder and show our members, show the world that you have to carry on. No matter what happens in your life, you have to carry on. Does it suck? Yes. Is it the same? No. Is it uncomfortable? Yes. Do we want to do it? No. Mm-hmm. But this is what we've got. Yep. If I lost my legs tomorrow, I'd be a bit gutted, but I'd have to carry on. Yep. So we had a few weeks of, software packages wasn't working correctly. The webcam we had wasn't that great. And I'm not that technically minded. I'm not a whiz. I had to get a different computer. I had to buy different leads and all this kind of stuff. So we had 2 weeks of dragging through the weeds. Facebook Live wasn't working very well. We had another software package that we were using that kept crashing. So really long story short, we ended up on Zoom. And then over the weeks, we've built it up. We've got old members that live in Birmingham and Scotland that now train.
Oh, of course, you join in again.
Yeah, because it's on a computer, which is fantastic. One of our members, he has his son every other weekend. So he come down to, obviously, to see his dad for the weekend and trained. And when he went back to Birmingham, back up to mum's, like he said, like, do you mind if he has the codes? I'm like, of course not. Like, not a problem at all. So he now trains like through the week up in Birmingham, like in his bedroom. So we wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for the technology in Zoom.
Do you think there'll be elements of what you've learned and what you've used over the last couple of months that you'll continue once we do get to a stage where, you know, the gym's in use again and people can be back in?
I would love to say yes. And a week ago we were saying 100%. And I do think Zoom has its place. I do think online training does have certain aspects that can help. So, for example, Colin's son training in Birmingham, he wouldn't be able to train with us if we didn't have the Zoom on.
Yeah.
And at the moment, we have 100% of people on Zoom and 0 in the gym, apart from me, Jenny, and our daughter Leah. So, at the moment, as of today, yeah, 100%. But I literally had a meeting this morning with another instructor, and we were questioning the power of Zoom. Now, if I ask my members who wants to come back to the gym, we had 98 people in a questionnaire. 97 of them said they wanted to come back.
Yeah.
So what will happen, whether it be over a week or over a month, when we do open back up and start to transition, obviously week 1, it will be, at the moment, let's say we've got 60 people on Zoom and no one in the gym. Week 1 will be 14 people in the gym and 60.
40.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then the next week we'll have 20 in the gym and 40 on Zoom.
Yeah.
The week after we'll have 20 on Zoom, 40 in the gym.
Yeah.
And then at what point do we continue? Because obviously running the Zoom means we've got to have an instructor in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So, for example, I might take the class and Jenny might take the Zoom, or vice versa. And all the time the numbers on Zoom are higher than the numbers in the class, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
But at what point do we turn around and say, well, we've got, 40 people in the gym over 3 classes, and we've got 2 people on Zoom.
Yeah.
Is it worth, and I know that sounds horrible, because we'd love to have our members in Birmingham still train and, you know, further afield, but is it worth having that one instructor in front of the camera for 2 hours?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just to serve them 2 people. And I know that's horrible, and I'd love to be able to do it, but I just don't think...
Your resources are limited. You are, at the end of the day, a small gym. Your resources are limited.
Yeah.
And they've got to...
And I want to say as well, you know, we are only charging £25 a month for a family to train on Zoom.
Yeah.
So that's less than £1 a day. And if there's 6 people in that family, you've got 6 people training for £1 a day, or less than £1 a day.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, there's some instructors that have crucified me for doing that. And what have you done? Like, why have you not kept your membership the same? And I'm like, because people have lost their jobs, people have lost their incomes. We can't charge nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm just doing what I think is right. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I had to start somewhere.
And if it's working for you as well, and you've kept that engagement with your members. So, you know, again, having looked around social media and seeing what's being done elsewhere, there are obviously going to be a number of people in the fitness industry who, when all of this is over, are almost going to be starting from square one again, where you've, as we said earlier, about the fact that you've kept your profile up, you've always been there, you're doing your Zoom classes, so that relationship with your membership and the relationship with what I know you like to think of as the HGA family rather than just members, is still there, and hopefully we'll switch back on more easily when this relaxes down a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I hope so. I mean, no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow, you know, with life in any shape or form. I'd love to think that is the case. I guess we'll find out when the doors do open back up. Yep. What I do know is by surveying, by speaking to our members, by adding polls, we've been doing lives every other week just to try and give them as much information as possible. What we are noticing is probably 95% of people just want to go back to normal, just want to get back to the gym. And there will be people that will be like, oh, but you can't do that because it will spread the virus. And I've done a live this morning where, again, 9 out of 10 people have said, yeah, you're spot on. One person has turned around and said, how can you say that? You can't say that. I work with people that, you know, are struggling with it. So do I. I had 3 lessons yesterday, or 3 meetings yesterday, that are people that are struggling with coronavirus. And when I say that we're there helping, we are at the tip of the spear when it comes to helping people with anxiety, stress, depression. They're struggling with diet, they're struggling with their relationships, they're struggling with their children. I know more than anyone. My job is to help people, because that is literally what we deal with every single day.
Well, interesting. I noticed you wearing your Kickstart Your Confidence t-shirt, and because you've got your series of podcasts which have dealt with a whole range of issues. And I was listening to a couple in the car yesterday, and people dealing with the problems and being self-reliant. You've actually now, I suppose, what you've come through in the last 3 months, you've kind of had to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. I'm sure you probably had to dig deep in terms of, getting over that initial weekend, that initial meltdown, and sort of working out what the way forward was.
Yeah, and the thing with what we've gone through and are going through is, we've had a global pandemic that has basically not wiped the planet out, but stopped the planet for a little bit. Like, if we'd said 6 months ago that 99% of the planes are going to stop flying, all of them businesses are shutting, all the shops are going to shut. If you had told someone that 6 months ago, they would have thought you were absolutely mental, close to an apocalypse. Like, the world stopped. Obviously, it's starting to fire back up now.
Yeah.
But how can you plan for that? What is right or wrong?
Yeah.
The government set the guidelines, but they don't know. The specialists that are paid millions, hundreds of millions of pounds, that are trying to work on a cure and a vaccine, they don't know. Every day they're going to work and going, right, let's test this, and if we do that, that might work. But what if it doesn't? Like, they don't know. Like, no one knows, because we've never been here before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So I personally think that they've done a really good job, some better than others. But bearing in mind, they don't even know, and people are going, the government don't know. Well, they don't know, because they've never had to deal with this. Yeah. I would hate to be Boris Johnson and the people at the top that are trying to make the rules and regulations, because they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. So
and the situation changes almost on a daily basis. They're finding out more about how the virus behaves and how it reacts. So in some ways, the press criticise the government for flip-flopping, I think is the phrase to use. But with new data and new information coming through, it would be surprising if they didn't change their approach and the position of things, really.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example is they've said that the masks make no difference whatsoever. Yeah. Like, for the last 11 weeks, no, masks don't work, unless you've got one specific one. And now, Monday, just gone, right, public transport, you have to wear a mask. Yeah. So what's happened for the last 12 weeks? Has new data come in? Have they found out something different? Have they broken to peer pressure? Yeah. Like, you don't know. You can go on Google, and every different title that you read will be completely different and contradict themselves. So we don't even know what we're reading's right. I mean, look at all the new dolphins that are in Venice. So, like, there's so much fake news just because people want to sell stories.
Yeah, and people snatch something, put it in social media, and they don't verify it, they don't check it out, and then suddenly everybody believes what they're saying. It's amazing stuff. So, well, I mean, what you did on Sunday, I think was really impressive.
Thank you.
Equally, what you've done over the last 3 months has been tremendous. But so, good luck for the future. Any signs? I mean, are you getting any information from anywhere about what the future is for gyms and when they might be able to look at reopening?
It's difficult depending on where you go to and who you read. Yeah. So, for example, professional athletes are allowed to train, for example, like full contact, touching and everything, they're allowed to train. My argument is, what's the difference between a pro boxer and an amateur boxer? They're still a human being. They still carry viruses. They still sweat on each other. There's no difference between a pro and an amateur. Yeah. So how come pros are allowed to do it and amateurs aren't? Why? Because there's money involved.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Same as footballers, same as rugby. It's getting the economy going, which I completely understand, and I want to go back to normal, personally. There are some people, so within the martial arts world, there are obviously groups and there are some governing bodies, and there are obviously Facebook groups and communities where a lot of all the instructors talk. Like, I belong to 3 or 4 of them. Some have different opinions. So you could put you know, oh, I want to open up on the 6th of July, for example. And some people will go, yeah, 100% with you. And then some of them will go, well, what have you read? What's different?
Yeah.
Now, if we maintain to the guidelines that have been set out by the government, so if you stick to 2 meters distance and socially distancing and 15 minutes between classes and so on, then in theory you can open, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But on the flip side, you'll get people saying you're not allowed to train with each other at all. So, but then you've got a contradiction in terms, because they're saying the leisure facility can open, so sports centres. They're saying that pubs and clubs and restaurants are going to open. Hairdressers and massaging people can open. So if I can have a haircut and go and see the dentist with them this close to me, if I can have a massage where she's touching me, I can obviously go to Tesco's and buy my food that 10,000 people a day have touched all the fridges and bits and pieces. You're allowed to do all of that, but they're saying that you can't go and train together. So if we stick to the guidelines, 2 meters apart, that's the guideline. I believe in a couple of weeks' time, it will drop down to 1 meter. But if we stick to them guidelines, if we don't touch each other, which is further away than having a massage or getting a haircut, we're all clean and tidy. I mean, 99% of people that come to the gym are fit anyway.
Yeah.
So we're the top 1%. Like, I cannot see a problem with gyms being open. Now, yes, if we were sparring and punching and kicking sweat into each other, then I understand that. So when we do open, we won't be doing any contact. We won't be doing any pads. Bear in mind, I've seen loads of people doing pads in the park, sparring in the park, in back gardens, in people's bedrooms. People are doing it. I still won't do it because obviously, you know, I don't want to go that far. For me, that's too far of a risk. But I do believe training together 2 meters apart is safe. You know, the gym is clean and tidy. You know, we have it sprayed and cleaned every session, before a session, after session, everything's clean. So it's definitely a cleaner environment than Tesco's.
Yeah.
And we won't be touching anyone.
Yeah.
So I really can't see the problem, personally.
Just have to wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah, and I know you enjoy a session. I know you enjoy a heavy training session where you sweat. You know, what are your thoughts on being able to train? Because I know you're like me.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thinking about the whole issue is that coronavirus is a new risk that we're going to have to learn to live with, and we can either go and hide in our houses and never come out and never do anything again, or we manage the risk and we take a reasonable risk. You know, we as we do when we cross the road, as we do when we get into our cars. And I think that the government have just done too effective a job at scaring people. And which, again, you can pick up on social media. You know, so, yeah, I would, I'd love to get back to normal. However, great talking to you. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having a little chat.
Yeah, no, that's great, and good luck with all your innovations for the future. Because I'm sure there's some more that we're going to be seeing over the next few days and weeks.
Well, as we've talked about, it changes on a daily basis, and I'm a bit of a nightmare in my own little head. I think, oh, that would be a good idea, and that might work, and let's try that, and let's push the boundaries. Yeah. I'm like that on a daily basis. So, yeah, no doubt we'll be pushing the boundaries. You know, I don't like to be a sheep. I don't like to follow. I want to be at the tip of the spear, driving this sport forward, driving fitness, driving mindsets. Otherwise, we just sit and wait for everyone else. Yeah. You know, as long as we're safe and as long as we're not taking too much of a risk. Yeah. So my version of risk would be to have our 50 members back in, climbing all over each other, punching each other in the face and spreading the sweat. Yeah. That's too much of a risk. Yeah. But having 14 people in the gym at 3 meters apart, I think is a completely safe, acceptable risk to take. Now, that's my thoughts. When we open, we will open the gym with all them guidelines into place, and we will say, this is what we're doing, guys. If you feel safe, if you feel comfortable, you are welcome back. If you don't feel safe or comfortable, stay on Zoom. Yep. It's their choice. It's their risk.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you so much.